Today we're going to do a bonus episode, and the subject of this bonus episode is going to be stabilizers versus gimbals. I want to talk about the difference between the two, show you the differences, and then we'll do some testing. Stabilizer. What does a stabilizer refer to? In today's world, when you talk about a camera stabilizer, what you're talking about is a manual device. It's really just a counterweight or counterbalance to the camera. So in my case, as you can see in this slide, it's a pole with the camera on top and weight on the bottom. That's all it really is. Now, I'm showing you here all the things that you have to adjust in order to get this thing balanced. You can see it's not just one thing, it's several things, and this can be a real pain. But this is what a stabilizer refers to. Now, what is a gimbal? Well, a gimbal, the proper name is a gimbal stabilizer. It's those two words put together, but nowadays we've chopped off the word stabilizer and we just use the word gimbal. And over time, when we say the word gimbal, a lot of times what we are referring to is a mechanized way of camera stabilization. So there's a motor, a tiny motor in this device powered by a battery that moves the camera around, a bracket that holds the camera to counteract the shakes, the bobs, the sways that you invariably are going to put into your video as you walk along and you have this camera and you're trying to focus on something. So that's the difference. Okay, so what is a gimbal? A gimbal actually refers to the ball joint that moves around in a multi-axis manner. For example, let's take another look at my stabilizer. Remember, what did I say? A stabilizer is a purely manual device, right? But this thing has a gimbal to it. Do you see it? That's right, it's right on the handle. See that? See how it moves in multiple directions? That's the gimbal. But nowadays, a lot of times gimbals have a bigger meaning. Now you can see what I have here set up. My gimbal is for an action camera. The bracket on top, and that bracket is controlled by the motor, so you can move around with what the motor is sensing to counteract your movement. This is for action cameras only. If you want a phone gimbal, you have to buy a different gimbal. If you want to put your main camera on a gimbal, which is, your main camera is going to be a lot bigger than an action camera, right? A lot bigger, a lot heavier. You can do that, but you're going to have to buy a different gimbal entirely that's much bigger, heavier, and more expensive. Okay, what did you think? Yeah, I thought that was crap. Absolute crap. Let me explain what happened. I spent a long time trying to get this thing balanced, but when I took it out, it still wasn't good enough. And that camera is shaking all over the place. What happens when the camera's moving like this? You're going to have focus problems, aren't you? So this clip is absolute trash. It cannot be used. And that's why I've decided that I'm going to do another bonus episode later on stabilizers. I need to do more work to get this thing balanced just right. And then I'm going to go through a couple of different make your own stabilizers at home. So we'll have a comparison. Can you build one or should you buy one? And we'll do that in another episode and try and do stabilizers a little more justice than what we're doing here. Okay, for this first video here, we're going to sneak up on Mr. Pepperplant with action camera alone. No gimbal. Here we go. You know, that wasn't that bad, actually. And, you know, it wasn't that shaky. Why was it so smooth? It was because of the EIS. The EIS, Electronic Image Stabilization software, in this camera smoothens out the video as best it can in real time. Fantastic. All action cameras have EIS, and I guess I might as well jump to this point right now. Now, okay, let me address a point of confusion that I know crops up, and that is the difference between EIS and OIS. EIS, Electronic Image Stabilization. OIS, Optical Image Stabilization. What's the difference? Are they the same thing? They are not. Optical image stabilization refers to steadying the camera as you have the shakes while you're taking pictures, not video, just pictures. A lot of cameras that you find on the market these days have OIS built into them. But do these cameras also have EIS, Electronic Image Stabilization? That's what smoothens out your video. And the answer is no. Very few of them do. Okay, so that's the difference. Action cameras are built for action. EIS is present in every single action camera. The difference in price of an action camera usually means they have a better EIS system built into that camera. Next clip coming up, we've got action camera with the gimbal. Here we go. Wasn't that better? Yeah, I think you can all see how much smoother it was. Now, just for testing, let's do a two-handed version of that. My video, the video clip you just saw, I'm holding it with one hand. What if I put two hands on the gimbal and hold that thing right in front of me? Will that add any more stability? Let's watch. I thought that was pretty good. Is it any better? Is it noticeably better than the one-handed version? Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I actually think it's pretty close. So I'll leave that up to you to decide if you think that's a better way of doing it. But anyway, folks, that's all we have in this episode. I just wanted to give you a heads up on what gimbals are going to do for you. Later on, we'll come back and do the stabilizer bonus episode. But until then, we'll see you. Aloha.